Hello, and welcome to another video. This is episode 25 of my podcast, and it has been a couple of days, I think about a week now, since I filmed the last episode, and I've been doing a lot of things, knitting stuff. I've been thinking a lot as well. So I'm here today to share all of that. So let's start off with something that I finished actually. So this is a tiny bag that I crocheted. So first off, let me give you some specifications on this. I wanted to say knit, but I crocheted this using Katia's wool, which is, actually I have no idea what it is. I don't think I've even written it down, but I think it's I'm pretty sure a cotton acrylic blend. If I'm not mistaken, it's 60% cotton, 40% acrylic, and the yardage is 100 meters per 50 grams. And I used a crochet hook of 4 millimeters. So this is something that I designed myself. I was inspired by this Japanese pattern book. It's called Kagibari Ami no 3D Pattern Book. So this is from Apple Mints, which is from Japan Vogue. And this book basically has, I've shown this before, it has a ton of crochet squares that have a 3D effect to them. And so I was inspired because they have sections of like animals, flowers, and so the first section, the flower section, they had this square. These are all the same, by the way, just different colors. And I really liked these because it reminded me of the flower clouds in SpongeBob. I was a huge fan of SpongeBob when I was a kid, and so I thought it would be really cute to make like this market bag. This one where you like pull out all the netting and then you have this thing like at the bottom. And so that's kind of like how this all started. I first tried following the pattern in the book, and well, as you can see, it's reminiscent of the clouds, but not quite, because they're just too many petals here. And when I first did this one, it didn't look quite right, and so I actually went on the internet and I looked for the clouds, and I saw that there were 5 petals, and so I modified that. And also, of course, this is not a square. I learned how to do a crochet circle. A crochet circle. And so that's kind of like how I got to this point. And then I did a crochet circle at the back as well. And so, yes, so I had done these 2 things, and that's kind of like where I left off 2 months ago, I think episode 20 or something. And so I had tried to already, like on the inside, I tried to crochet the netting, but the yarn I had was the same yarn as the rest of the bag, and as you can see, it's quite thick yarn. And so the bag was gonna be huge, and I was running against issues. Basically, I wasn't too sure how to construct the bags in such a way that if I pulled out the netting, that this thing would be here at the bottom. And it was just such a hassle. And so I decided that I was just going to try and finish this no matter what. And so basically what my idea was, I just wanted to finish it. So I slip stitched along the 2 circles, and then I did a chain stitch, and then I attached it to the other side. And then I just added these snaps, which one side I did in not a very clean fashion, to be honest. That's something I have to be more aware of, that I make sure that when I'm finishing things that I'm actually putting in the extra amount of attention to actually make it look nice, because now that I'm looking at the button, it doesn't really look nice, and it's also coming loose a bit, so I might have to redo that. Yeah, in any case, so that's what I did, and now I have this tiny bag, so not exactly the thing that I wanted to have, but that's okay. I was very happy with the way that I challenged myself, and I mean, this tiny bag is still very functional. I can put tiny things in here. I was thinking maybe putting some of my makeup in here, because I have this like board that I got from IKEA with hooks on it, so I can just put, I don't know, some mascara or whatever. I don't really use a lot of makeup, so it wouldn't be too inconvenient to put it all in here. So I can put it in here and then put it against the wall. So yeah, there is gonna be some function. There is some function to it, luckily. And then now actually I have a pattern that shows how to make such a like pull out market bag thingy. So I'm gonna use that in the future. I'm just gonna follow everything and see how it works out. So that's this thing done, essentially. Yay! Now, moving on to something that I showed last week that is done, but I don't have it with me because I actually gifted it yesterday. Yes. So I did shoot some footage, so as I'm talking about it, it's gonna pop up here. Yeah, so I finished knitting Berlin Tørklædet, which translates to the Berlin scarf. It's a Danish pattern. There's no like other language available for this pattern. It's a free one. It's from Mayflower. So if you are interested in giving it a shot, I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. Yeah, so this is a free Danish pattern from Mayflower, and it's this very long triangular scarf. So for specifications, I used 4.5mm needles, which is way bigger than was recommended, because I want basically this, the pattern originally is for a neck scarf, a necktie, I guess, and I wanted to make this like a full-on long scarf, and so I also chose a different weight yarn. I used an Aran weight yarn, Drops Big Merino, which is 100% superwash merino, and has a yardage of 75 meters per 50 grams. And then the color that I used was Bosgroen, number 14. I think it's forest green or something in English. But yes, so the way this scarf is constructed, it's actually pretty neat. So you have these 5 different sections which are all divided by lateral braids, and so you start at the tip of the scarf, you cast on 5 stitches, and then every 4th row you increase on the exact same side. And so after a number of stitches, you do a lateral braid, you change the pattern, you move on to the next section, to the next pattern, and then increase, then again a lateral braid, and then you get to the middle pattern where you increase. Halfway you decrease, you start decreasing, and then you do a lateral braid, second to last pattern, lateral braid, and then last pattern, and then finally you just do an applied edge, an applied I-cord, which it has been over 2 years since I did that, so it was kind of fun to relearn that again. So yes, my experience knitting this scarf, I do have to say, because it was so small, like the pictures were so small, I thought this was gonna be a rather quick pattern to do, because I had initially thought of just gifting a pair of socks, and then I realized like, ooh, that's actually quite a lot to do within a week. So maybe like a tiny scarf would work out well. And so it turns out it was actually quite a lot. And I think I spent more time knitting this than I think I would have if I had knit socks. But in any case, I'm very, very happy with the result. I don't know like every stitch that is used. I actually have no idea which stitches are used in this pattern, but I don't know. If I find them out, I'll put them on the screen or something like that. But yeah, so there were 5 different patterns that I had to knit. Well, I mean, moss stitch or seed stitch. That was the first one that I did, and that was pretty fine. And then I got to the one where you had these diamonds, and that was a killer for my hands, I have to say. I really did not like that pattern whatsoever, because it has these cross stitches, which I had tried on a sock pattern before, which I didn't finish, but it had these cross stitches, and it was just a pain doing that the whole time, because the way you do it is basically you knit, not when you're crossing stitches, you don't knit the first stitch, but you knit the second one behind, and then or in front, and then you knit the stitch that is in front of the first stitch on your left needle, and it's just more strain on your hands. And particularly this week, I was feeling a lot of strain on my hands, because I'm someone who tends to have quite cold hands, even if it's warm inside, and I wasn't finding a good way to keep my hands warm, and I just felt like these tiny pains in my fingers throughout. And so I figured I just need like a set of fingerless gloves to have with me when I'm, I don't know, knitting, or just in general, just to keep my hands warm, because it's not it for me at this point. So that's something that I have added to my list of things that I want to do. I've also found a pattern for that, so hopefully I'll be able to do that very, very quickly. Yes. So what else do I have to say about this pattern? The yarn. So this was yarn that I bought maybe 3 years ago. I've had this in my stash for quite some time, and I had an awful experience knitting this. So this is the first time that I've used Drops Big Merino, and I actually, the leftover that I have, I actually just want to, I don't know, like sell it or give it to a friend, because so the one thing that I really didn't like about this yarn, something that I really didn't like about this yarn is the way it like splits. It splits very easily, and that made it very hard to knit, because if I'd split it, I'd be just struggling with because there were so many strands as well. I was just struggling trying to find which hole I needed to get in with my needle, and it was just such a hassle. And also, and this was so annoying, there were so many knots in one ball. I think there was one ball in particular that had 4 knots in them. So basically, I don't know what they were doing, but something was going on in that factory, because 4 knots for like 75 meters is a lot. And it was really annoying because it was like such a smooth yarn, it would be very easy to catch where I had essentially weaved in the yarn. And so I really wanted to, so basically what I did to resolve that was I'd only switch yarns at the end, or at the end or beginning of a row, so that I could use the applied I-cord later on to hide all of my loose ends in. And so I would be working on the midsection, and then I would knit halfway and then find that there's a knot coming, and so I'd have to go all the way back and then start all the row over again. And that happened about 4 times when I was knitting this, so that was also just not a great experience. But I will say the outcome was very nice. I think it looked really beautiful. I liked the color as well, and yeah, it was a great gift, I think. And I do have to say, I am going to I'm gonna be better at knitting gifts. I'm not going to make things, I don't know, 2 weeks before or even a month before I have to gift something. I am just going to try my best to, throughout the year, just knit gifts. Not, well, sometimes maybe with a particular person in mind, but I just want to have a tiny stash of hand knitted gifts that I can just give out when the time comes. Also, like, just knitting before for Christmas as well. It's like, that's during Christmas, it's a holiday, right? So it's supposed to be not very stressful, and so I think this is going to be the way for me, just knitting Christmas and birthday gifts throughout the year, and then just giving it once it's the actual time. So I already have a couple of ideas. I have been thinking to, I guess, just try and find some patterns that are like one hank, I'm guessing, one hank, one skein, 100 grams worth of yarn that I can, patterns that only use that amount of yarn. And so just quick and tiny presents that kind of like work for everyone. Like, I don't know, fingerless gloves, mittens, tiny scarves, stuff like that. So there's that. Yeah, so let's move on to the fuzzy pixie hood. Ta-da! Oh, wait. Right. Yes, it is done, and I'm really, really happy with it. So, specifications. This is the fuzzy pixie hood by Fable Knitwear, and yeah, the yarn that I used, Undercover Otter, 205 grams per 5 meters per 50 grams, 85% pre-shrunk merino superwash or extra superwash merino, 15% nylon in the color Squirm, Squirm sock in the color Rift, and then silk mohair that I got from Japan from Itoricot, and that one is 80% mohair and 20% silk, and it's a fingering weight yarn. So held together, this basically becomes a DK weight yarn. And the needles that I used for this, 4mm needles for knit stitches, and then 3.5 for purl stitches, and then some places I just did 4mm for both. So yeah. Yes. So this is actually, I heavily modified this pattern. So first off, the modifications, well, the construction really quickly. You knit a tiny strip here up top and then do some shaping. Then in the strip you do some shaping at the tip here. Then you knit all the way down, and then the different suggestions as to how you can finish off this hood. I added a lot of stitches here at the top because, as you can see, there's a lot of hair, so I needed some extra space for it. And then when I got to the bottom, I was thinking what to do because I had already made this pattern before, and I didn't want to do the same thing again. So because what I did was a 2x2 rib and then some strings that I folded over I hemmed it essentially, the bottom, and then I put strings here, and then I did the ribbing. And I wanted something different, and so I decided to just use Judy's Magic Cast On. Yes, and then I made this double stockinette stitch, or basically just a tube of stockinette stitch, and I turned it into a scarf by doing the Kitchener stitch at the end, and then I sewed it on. So for the bind off for the bind off first, so the thing is I had initially binded off the scarf. No, I had binded off the hood with just a very regular knit stitch, like the basic cast off essentially, and it was too tight, and so I decided to use Very Pink Knits' very stretchy bind off, and then I sewed it together with, like, I don't know which video I used, but if I find it, I'll leave a link in the description box. I think I used one of Roxanne Richardson's video, and I didn't really do a great job of sewing, but it was a good experience for me. I don't know if you can see it, but I sewed it in a way, I thought that, I think the way that I picked up where I put my sewing needle through at the hood, on the hood, was a row too high it was a row too high, I think, for the needle. And so I should have gone in a row lower, because now you have these tiny bubbles, which are basically just the cast off edge that is showing. But since I was consistent with my mistake and I was halfway through, I decided just to keep on doing that all the way. And so it doesn't look very chaotic in my opinion, and I'm fine with the result, and I learned how to do it better the next time. So sewing was not that much of an issue. And then what else did I do? I did add, again, these plastic snaps. This is actually the first time that I'm using these plastic snaps, but they have proven to be really handy. I have some metal ones as well, but I actually really like these plastic ones too. So they're just easier to work with, in my opinion. So this is how it looks. Well, I do have to say, preface this, that my hair on the side is also a bit big, so it makes the hood look a tiny bit weird. So, because it just kind of like goes, I don't know, in a weird shape, but yeah, okay, got it. So this is how, so I can use it like, just like this, and fold the scarf over and just wear it like this. So this is the, oh, shoot, did I do something wrong here? No, okay. So this is how it looks. I can't even see it myself. Yeah, so as you can see, my hairstyle makes it look a bit weird, because there's a lot of space here on the, well, there's a lot of volume with my hair here at the midsection. But I had my hair a bit lower yesterday, because I actually used this one yesterday when it was really cold, and it was really nice wearing this one. But yeah, then it does look a bit better then. And yeah, so I can use it like this. It also kind of looks cute when it's like this, when it's warm, like when I'm inside, because I went to IKEA yesterday and I just wore this and I had my jacket on top, and I thought it looked kind of cute. But then I can also just unclasp it, and then it was luckily long enough for me to do this. And so then I can also wear it like this. Yes. Yes, so I think that's everything I have to say at the moment about this. There is, I guess, well, you see this kind like weird thingy here? Yeah, so it's not, I don't think it's on this side here. So I was thinking, like, did I mess up the sewing just now? But then I realized that I filmed the last podcast episode when this was still wet, and then I kind of like put it on my table very damp and it got shriveled a bit. So this should, if everything's okay, block out later. And if not, then I guess I have to figure out what I did wrong for it to kind of like crumple in that way. So yes, I think that's everything for this. I really like it. I'm not even sure. I think I might even like this one a bit more than the other one. But yeah, I think I'm very happy with both of them. This just has more space for my hair and I really like that about it. So I spoke about my crochet bag last time and I have knit one tiny square. I haven't done, well, crocheted one tiny square in it. Yeah, no, wait. I have crocheted one tiny square, but I haven't crocheted the flower that is in it. So that's really not worth talking about in this episode. And also when it comes to the sailor collar sweater, I think I've knit about another 10 rows. So that's also not very, it's not enough to talk about. So, well, one thing I did want to talk about is this new project that I started this morning actually. And hopefully, if everything goes well, before me uploading this video, the video of me making this is already on YouTube. So I am making another hood. So yeah, this one is actually, well, okay. Yes. Well, okay, I am making another hood and I'm using a free pattern. So I'll leave a link below. Well, I'll leave a link to that below. So the name is Norwegian Baby Cap. And this is just an old pattern that I found on freevintagepatterns.com, something like that. And I thought it was a really cute thing, so I am making it right now. So the construction of this is basically, it's just like this thing here, but instead of knitting it like all the way back and then down, you knit like this. And then I'm pretty sure you do, I don't know what it's called, but you know, basically when you make socks, you have the French heel and you also have the Dutch heel or horse heel, I think. And that you basically, so you basically do that at the back. At least that's what I think. I looked through the pattern a bit and I'm pretty sure that's how it's done. There's also a diagram, so I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I know how to do this. So this is another project that I'm using to kind of like get rid of yarn that I have no idea what to do with, that I've had for a very long time. It's again Drops Naples, this time in the color Marine Blue 1709 and Nature 0100. And this is 65% wool, 35% alpaca, 75 meters per 50 grams is the yardage. So yeah, it's just, I'm just doing color work. There's really, well, there's not that much to show actually at the moment, but I'm having a lot of fun with this and I'm gonna try and see if I can finish this off today. So yeah, what else did I want to say about this? Yeah, so this is 4.5 millimeters, the needles, and well, I used for the non-collar work sections, I used 4.5 millimeters, and then for the main collar section, well, for the collar section, for the collar sections, I used 5 millimeter needles, and I have been kind of experimenting, which I really enjoyed. I forgot something. Just 1 second. Yes, back. Okay. So this is another Japanese book that I haven't really spoken about because I haven't used it yet, but now I've used it, and I am actually, please do let me know, is anyone interested in me actually reviewing knitting books, because I'm very interested in that, and a lot of time, well, I'm just interested in learning a lot about knitting, and I have seen that there are not a lot of in-depth reviews of knitting books, and I'll get to that maybe like later on. So let me know if you do have interest in that. I really do take to heart what people do tell me in the comment section below. So also, that's also one thing I wanted to say. If you have any advice or suggestions or anything that has to do with my knitting, if you think something would work better with another color, or I don't know, anything like that, even if you think it's just like your opinion or like your preference, don't feel scared or anything to like send me a message, a comment, because I am very desperate at this point to hear from other knitters or just people or just viewers. Essentially, doesn't matter if you're a beginner or an expert knitter. I like to hear from people about knitting, and I just think I really appreciate even someone taking the time to even put a comment down below. So yes, please feel free to leave all your suggestions below. Yes, so this book I recently bought in like my, well, I mean, you've been seeing some more Japanese books that have also recently released come up on this podcast, and that's because I bought a couple of books towards the end of the year in December. Yeah, so this book is really cool. It's called Bobari Ami no Tsukurime Otome Handbook. So basically knitting cast on and cast off methods. So it has 41 cast on methods and then 34 casting off methods in here. And this is such a good resource. I mean, I've only like looked through it in the past couple of weeks, but today's actually the first time that I've used it. This book, it also has an English title, A Handbook of Cast On and Bind Off for Knitting. But yeah, the person who wrote this book is Tomoko Nishimura, and she's the same person who also wrote the book on how to, I think it was called like Jibun no Saizu de, what is it? Seta or amu, something like knitting your sweater in your own size. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that in like 2 episodes back, the book, and just a treasure of information. But yeah, this one as well is just great. So basically with this with this pattern, I believe you cast on in just a regular way, and then you come back and do some crochet edging, like some picot edging. I don't know if you can see it all that well here. But I was thinking, well, I since I was looking through this book before, I was like, I'm pretty sure there's a picot cast on method in this book. So I found this one. here. This is it's called a Pico Rib Cast On. I used it. And also one really good thing about this book is trying to, I'm trying to make sure that you can actually see what I'm trying to show. Yes. So, well, yeah. Okay, so here there's basically, what's it called? Like a pentagon. Is that it? So, yeah, it's a pentagon, right? 5. So, and it has all these, like, how would I say it? All these properties of the cast on, and in a very easy and digestible way, you can see what type of cast on it is and investigate if this is a good cast on for the project that you want. So yeah, for instance, I think it says here it's how decorative it is, the flexibility, so like how stretchy it is, and how easy it is to knit as well. And what else is there? Yeah, I don't know how to read all that. But it's really great. So yeah, maybe I'll talk about this more in like a review video. But yes, so I used the Pico Rib Edge so I cast that on. That's one modification that I made. What else did I do? I have been adding more blue, like more rows of blue. Like I added here below an edge of blue and then another extra row here, just so that there will be more space for my hair in the back. I made sure that my gauge was correct. So I did not do a swatch, which is at this point kind of like out of the ordinary for me. However, I've used this yarn for a lot of things. I've used it, for this vest actually. This is also Drops Nepal, but I did that years ago. This one I knit, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago. And so I wouldn't say that this would be very representative of how I knit now, my gauge. So I have also been using, if you can recognize the color, this is the same yarn that I've been using for the sweater for my boyfriend. And so I did not block the sweater yet, but if it expands, like if this expands, it's not much of an issue. But I basically used the gauge for that one. So what I did, I looked at the diagram of this pattern, and I believe it was about 85 stitches or something. And I checked that if I were to do the pattern with this yarn, how many centimeters, like how long this would be. And I measured my own head. And so for it to go all the way around here, it's about 50 centimeters. And that's exactly what I get using this yarn, 4.5 millimeters and 5 millimeters for the color work. And so I'm just knitting along, seeing how it goes. And so yeah, it's been really fun learning the new cast on method. I think I'm definitely going to use this for more things in the future. I would love to like write this pattern and do like a modification for this. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but yeah, maybe like a video tutorial or something. I have been wanting to actually make a video tutorial for a very long time, and this seems like a very easy project also because you get to learn, I've learned a lot here, but also for me, another thing that I'm learning doing this project is knitting a collar work flat. I haven't done that before, and I was a bit scared when doing that, because I was like, how do I do that exactly with keeping the floats? Like, how would I keep the floats? But turned out it wasn't that hard. And I think that's also one thing that is very, how would I say, that is very, very much so that something might look very hard, but you just have to try it, and you'll find often that it might take you a couple of times, but you'll get there. For me, it took a couple of rows to really get this, and also figure out in which hand I would like to have which yarn, because the way I knit color work is I knit it like this, essentially continental and English style at the same time. And so my tension in general, like the tension for both fingers is different, and I'm trying to get better at that, making it more even, but it's completely off when it comes to purling, because I've never really purled that much with color work, and now I'm having to do that flat. And so the most important thing for me is that the white, like that the piece looks as, how would I say it, that the piece looks as nice as it can be. I know a lot of people talk about color dominance and stuff like that, but I just think about, and color dominant, I don't know, I don't know much about it, but I feel like if I just work on my tension and just experiment with things, that I'll figure things out. So yeah, I've been really focusing on my tension. I messed up, I think, about 2 or 3 rows, and the white got really big. The white stitches got really big, and so I ripped it out, which wasn't an issue, and I picked things back up, and I found that holding the white yarn in my right hand on both sides, I believe, gives the best tension in my work at the moment. But we'll see how all of that progresses. But I am really excited for this one. And yes, now before I get into like my thoughts and plans and things, etc., just sock stuff. Not a lot happening, but I did finish a sock yesterday. Yes, I finished the sock yesterday. This was the sock that I was making for one of our mums. So it's the Opal Schafpate number 13 in the color Übernachtung after Heide, and then also the Opal 4-ply unicolor sock yarn I used. It's just my regular top-down sock with a French heel and linen stitch for the heel flap. And then what else did I do? Yeah, so I'd used the contrast color, the light blue, for the heel and the toe. And yeah, that's basically all. Yeah, there's not really that much to say. She loved the sock, so I'm really happy it fit her as well. So that was just a really nice experience, being able to gift her something. Yes. What else is there that I wanted to say about that? No, not really anything. In any case, my boyfriend has been talking, well, blasphemy. He 2 days ago, he came to me and he was like, you know, Seji, I wanna get some more sweaters. And I was like, ah. And then he's like, from Zara. Can we go online and look at sweaters? And oh my gosh, I can't believe that he actually asked me. No, I'm kidding. I'm not that I'm not I don't have anything against like my partner just wanting to still buy, you know, like store-bought clothing, knitted things. But we went on Zara and we saw that a lot of things were not really anything that he liked. And so I basically, because I mean, I've been working on the purple sweater for some time, and it's been taking a lot of time because I've been like doing this heavy mod modded thing and just mistakes galore. And so yeah, it's getting pretty cold and he wants more variety in his clothing. And so yeah, we went looking on the Zara website, like I said, didn't really find anything. And so I thought, you know what, if you buy some yarn for yourself, once it gets here, I'll set aside my projects and I'll work on your sweater and I'll finish it. And so we picked 3 different patterns for him. And so I'll be making 3 sweaters for him. And well, the first one comes with urgency and the other 2 I can do whenever I want, but like still in a timely fashion. So yeah, so he bought 700 grams worth of sweater quantity yarn. Was that even a sentence? But yeah, he today actually he bought the yarn, and I'm gonna make a sweater for him. So I'm using actually again a free pattern. I think it's called Midvinter, and it's fun. Yeah, it's from Järbo, which is a Swedish yarn company. I'm not too sure if the pattern is offered in English. I'm pretty sure it is actually, but I'll leave a link to that in the description box below. But I mean, I'll be fine knitting with using like, yeah, I'll be fine knitting a sweater in Swedish as well, so it's not really that much of an issue. So yeah, this is his first, like, how would you call that, turtleneck sweater. Yeah, so the pattern I said was Midvinter. It's this just beautiful dark blue and light blue dotted sweater with a turtle neck, and I'm very excited to do this. So yeah, what else is there to say? So I mean, as you're noticing probably, I am starting to like try and knit more things that are vintage and also in different languages. So I mean, I've been scouring the internet this past week, just looking at different Norwegian, Swedish and Danish patterns, and I've just been reading them as well as vintage ones as well. English ones. I've been reading them and looking and seeing things that I might want to knit, and I'm really excited for that. When I made my winter 2024 plans video, I really noticed how many Japanese patterns that I've been making. And I mean, obviously that makes sense because I mean, I went there, and once I get really into something, I'm just like really into it. But I just felt like, oh, I really want to try and see if I can, also knit more Western things and try and find a balance and just learn. I just want to learn things. That stuff just really makes me so incredibly happy and excited. And so I have found a whole new world of Danish and Norwegian and what else? Danish, Norwegian, and Swedish. Yeah, like patterns, and so many of them are for free online. And that really surprised me a lot, just like how many high quality written patterns are just for free online. But yeah, like the only downside is that they're not in English. Well, I mean, for me, that's not really a downside. I've really gone over the hump of like, you know what? I can knit in Dutch, I can knit in Norwegian, I can use all these types of patterns. So I'm like, why don't I just do it? So that's kind of like what I have been thinking about these couple of days. I've been looking and saving a ton of patterns. One thing that I've really come to enjoy as well has been deconstructing vintage patterns. So the free vintage pattern website is also just like an amazing resource. Basically what I've been doing is I've I just kind of like read the pattern and I'm visualizing how the pattern looks, and I'm changing gauges, also like just doing gauge calculations. I have been looking at, yeah, just kind of like mentally drawing things out in my head, like why things are done the way that they're done. I've just been really learning construction by reading patterns, which sounds a bit strange, but it has really helped me a lot in understanding knitted garments. And then, yeah, and so I have been looking to actually start rewriting these patterns and modernizing them here and there, just trying to knit them. So yeah, that's the, well, this one is not really getting modernized or anything like that, but there is some modification here and there, and I'm just very excited to see how like my vintage knitting journey will go. I still am thinking about the Japanese vintage patterns that I have. My yeah, the only problem with that is, well, when I started looking at them, when I got them like well, months ago, I was feeling a bit like, not necessarily overwhelmed, but I didn't really know where to start with those patterns. But now that I'm learning more about construction, and thankfully the Japanese pattern actually show you how the shape of the garment and the, how would I say it, the off-mating the numbers. So the numbers, like how the measurements, yeah, the measurements of the garment, that I feel like I'm gonna be able to, once I feel more comfortable with actually knitting English vintage patterns, I'm gonna be able to progress to Japanese vintage ones and learn just so much. This year is just gonna be so exciting with knitting. And yeah, I think the last thing that I want to talk about is, well, I've just been scouring the internet for patterns, and I mean, I check Ravelry and Pinterest a lot, and they're just great stuff that I can find there. And I have also this very cool idea for like a crochet bag. Yeah, but I'll talk about that another time. Yeah, so I've seen this pattern pop up so many times. There's this cat sweater that is made for kids. It's called Child's Sweater with a Cat Pattern, and it was in this book by this Norwegian designer. The book is called Norwegian Designs, or yeah, Norwegian Design, something like that. It's like, also it's in Norwegian, it's in French, and it's in English. And I have tried my best to find the book. I'll put a picture here. I have been trying my damnedest, or I've been trying my best to find this book online, but it is sold out. I have been like, I have found the chart online, but there's no like instructions, and I just want to buy the book. Wait, did I even talk about the sweaters? So the sweater, like I said, it was Child's Sweater with a cat pattern. I just thought it was beautiful. I would love to grade this pattern so that I can actually wear it, but the book is not in print anymore. The English version came out in 2019, and I can't find it unless I pay 100 euros for one book. Man, I was scouring the internet, and I thought, today I am going to do some major sleuthing. So I checked in my university library. They don't have it, but I could get it sent from the UK, and for 13 euros or even more to borrow, and then I have to ship it back. But it's just such a hassle. I looked on Marktplaats, which is like the Dutch eBay, and there's this guy who knows that it's expensive. He's selling it for 95 euros. And on eBay there are a couple of Americans who have this book, but shipping cost is another 30 euros. So on like altogether it's gonna be 60 euros plus import costs, and I didn't want to deal with any of that. But then I saw on Ravelry that this particular sweater was also featured in Knitter's magazine 30. So I was like, maybe if I can try finding this sweater in that book. And so, well, also I do have to say, I was even so desperate, I tried the French one, and there was this French website that had one copy of the French edition, and I got to check out, 22 euros. I was like, great. And I would have to pick it up in France. Like so in like the sending, like where do you want to send it to? There was France, Germany, Belgium, and the Netherlands, Le Pays-Bas. And I clicked on the Netherlands, and I was like, I'm ready for the like cost of postage, but because it's like European Union, there's no import tax. So I was like, probably just have to pay like 6 or 7 euros to get it sent from France. And there was no option to send it to my place. And I was just like, I'm not even gonna like Instagram these people and ask, or like send an email and ask if there is a possibility for them to just ship it. Anyway, it just didn't really make sense, but like I just gave up, and that's when I started looking at the knitters. And then I downloaded the app, and you can buy digital versions of the book, of the magazine. And so ta-da, I got it. So I have like the chart here as well. And so that's something that I can start whenever I want. Just have to think about the color combinations. I'm gonna do some really heavy modifications. Well, I have to grade it in the first place, but I'm gonna do some mods here and there. I'm gonna be thinking about this for some time, I think. But I think this is gonna be such a fun project. But there's just so much to knit, so many fun things to do. But I think I have reached kind of like, I think I have said what I want to say for today. I have been motivated and energized by talking to you. Well, for me, it's just talking to a phone, but I feel inspired. I feel happy. I feel excited. And I am gonna end this podcast here. I'm gonna get back to my baby cap, Norwegian baby cap thingy. And yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Okay, bye.